Hello students, welcome back to JCE eConnect. So let's continue with our revision on our course of Internet of Things Technologies. So in today's lecture, we'll start with module 3 and we are going to discuss about the IP as the IoT network layer. Okay, so Internet Protocol as an IoT network layer now. So in this we are going to discuss about the business case for IP. Okay, this section discusses the advantages of IP from an IoT perspective and introduces the concept of adoption and adaptation. Okay, then we'll talk about the need for the optimization. So this section dives into the challenges of constrained nodes and devices when deploying the IP. Okay, we have already talked about like what is constrained node and constrained devices. Okay, so this will go into more detail about the challenges for this constrained nodes and constrained devices when we are deploying the IP. Okay, this section also looks at the migration from IPv4 to IPv6 and how it affects the IoT networks. So we already talked about IPv4 and IPv6, like because we are going to add many numbers of things to the internet, so IPv4 is not sufficient. Okay, so we need to move for IPv6. So let's talk about the business cases. Business case for IP. Okay, so data flowing from or to the things is consumed, controlled, or monitored by data center service, either in the cloud or in the location that may be distributed or centralized. Okay, so whatever the data is flowing through flowing from or to the things, okay, which will be collected and it will be controlled and monitored in the data center servers. So that can be in the cloud or in we are saying it is distributed. We already talk about these things, right? So if we are talking about nearer to the things, that is like a fog computing. Okay, because it is not easy, like it is when we are transmitting all the data to the cloud, which is not like practical, where we need to filter the data first and then need to transmit it to the cloud, right? So we talked about all this in the last module. Okay, so then dedicated applications are then run over virtualized or traditional operating systems or on network edge platforms. So for example, like fog computing. Okay, so dedicated applications can run over this on, and the lightweight application communicate with the data center servers. Okay, so the system solutions combining various physical and data link layer call for an architectural approach with a common layers independent from the lower and the upper layers. So now let's discuss the key advantages of IP for the IoT. Okay, so on one of the main difference between traditional information technology and operational technology is the lifetime of the underlying technologies and products. IP is able to maintain its operations for large number of devices and users, such as the 3 billion internet users. So the first advantage is open and standards based. The Internet of Things create a new paradigm in which devices, applications and users can leverage a large set of devices and functionalities while guaranteeing interchangeability and interoperability, security and management. This calls for implementation, validation and deployment of open standards based solutions. So basically IP is the open and standards based. So it is open to use and standards are followed so that each, like other devices connected with the IP, can communicate with each other. Okay. Then it is versatile. A large spectrum of access technologies is available to offer connectivity of things in the last mile. Okay, so there are so many technologies already developed and running on the IP. Okay, so we have this large spectrum of access technologies available. Additional protocols and technologies are also used to transport IoT data through backhaul links and in the data center. So many different additional protocol and technologies are also used to transmit the data. So the layered IP architecture is well equipped to cope up with any type of physical and data link layers. Okay, so that's why we are saying this IP is better, is can be used for in the IoT perspective. Then you have ubiquitous. All recent operating systems releases from general purpose computers and several lightweight embedded systems like a tiny OS, Contiki, and so on have an intelligent dual IP stack that gets enhanced over time. So, like all over, we know that there are different operating system, general purpose computers, all are like based on the IP. Okay, so uh, in addition, IoT application protocols in many industrial OT solutions have been updated in recent years to run over IP. So there are many such new protocols also which are running over the IP. So that's what we are saying, like IP is all over. Scalable. The common protocol of the internet, IP, has been massively deployed and tested for robust scalability. Millions of private and public IP infrastructures node have been operational for years, offering strong foundations for those not familiar with IP network management. So we have already have IP everywhere, right? Internet protocol and so many things are already connected to it, and even there is a scope of connecting that. So that scalability is there in the IP. Okay. Manageable and highly secure. So one of the benefits that comes from 30 years of operational IP network is the well understood network management and security protocols, mechanisms and toolset that are widely available. So for the IP from the last 30 years, this particular security things are already well managed. Okay, so that's why we are saying manageable and highly secured this IP is. Stable and resilient. IP has been around for 30 years and it is clear that IP is a workable solution. IP has a large and well established knowledge base, and more importantly, it has been used for years in critical infrastructure such as financial and defense networks. So we have been using the IP for last 30 years and we found that it is stable and resilient. So from IoT point of perspective, it is very important. The innovation factor. So IP is underlying protocol for application ranging from file transfer and email to the World Wide Web, e-commerce, social networking, mobility and more. So again, the IP is underlying protocol for so many of this already what we have, the different applications. Okay, so based on that, using this, if we move to IoT, that is the advantage what we will be getting. Or adaptation for the internet protocol. Adaptation means application layered gateways must be implemented to ensure the translation between non-IP and IP layers. So adaptation means implementation of our application layer gateways. Okay, so it will ensure that the translation between non-IP and IP layers will happen. Adoption involves replacing all the non-IP layers with their IP layers counterparts, simplifying the deployment model and operations. So replacing the non-IP layers with the IP layers counterparts, that is adaptation. Supervisory control and data acquisition. SCADA applications are typical examples of vertical market deployment that operate both the adaptation model and adaptation model. SCADA is an automation control system for remote monitoring and control of equipments. Implementation that makes use of IP adaptation have SCADA devices attached through serial interface to a gateway tunneling or translating the traffic. With the IP adoption model, SCADA devices are attached via Ethernet to switches and routers forwarding their IPv4 traffic. So basically it is supervisory control and data acquisition. It is one kind of a protocol. So another example for is a Zigbee solution that runs a non-IP stack between devices and Zigbee gateway that forwards traffic to an application servers. A Zigbee gateway often acts as a translator between the Zigbee and IP protocol stack. Right? So, like many devices cannot support IP, so then there has to be something in between which will which will help them to communicate with each other. Okay, so that is what we are saying: adaptation and adaptation. You should consider the following factors when trying to determine which model is best suited for last mile connectivity. Okay, so that is what the connectivity it is providing between the devices and IP. So then you need to consider about bidirectional versus unidirectional data flow, overhead for last mile communication paths, data flow model, and network diversity. Then let's talk about the need for optimization. Optimizations are needed at various layers of IP stack to handle the restrictions that are present in the IoT network. So it is needed because it has to handle the restrictions that are present in the IoT network. The first one is constrained nodes. So constrainment, that is what we are saying, highly controlled. So in IoT solution, different classes of devices coexist. Depending on the function in the network, a thing's architecture may or may not offer similar characteristics composed to a generic PC or server in an IT environment. So we know that particular nodes in the IoT will have different features, like different memory, different they will be having different memory size, okay, or different support for the data. So we have seen that in the last module about the different forms of the nodes, class 0, class 1, class 2 and all. Okay, so the characteristics of this are different. So another limit is that this network protocol stack on an IoT node may be required to communicate through an unreliable path. Even if a full IP stack is available on the node, this causes the problem such as limited or unpredictable throughput and low convergence when a topology changes occurs. Okay, so even if the full IP stack is available on that particular node, still there can be some different problems may occur. So finally, power consumption is a key characteristic of constrained nodes. Many IoT devices are battery powered with lifetime battery requirements varying from few months to 10 plus years. This drives the selection of networking technologies since high speed ones such as Ethernet, Wi-Fi and cellular are not yet capable of multi-year battery life. So when you need to send high speed data and all, the power required will be more. Okay, so the battery life will be less. The current capabilities practically allows less than a year this technology is on battery powered nodes. Okay, like consider your mobile phone only. So like if you are using your mobile phone which is using high speed technology for transmitting the data, okay, so then the battery will get discharged faster, correct? So current capabilities are not like that batteries will be like 10 plus years. Power consumption is much less of a concern on nodes that do not require batteries as an energy source. So some of the nodes are like powered continuously, or some of the node doesn't depend on the batteries. So there is no power concern for that particular. But if the node is battery powered, then obviously we need to think about the power consumption. Then we have constrained networks. In the early years of the internet, network bandwidth capabilities was rest, uh, restrained due to technical limitations. Connection often dependent on low speed modems for transferring the data. However, this low speed connection demonstrated that IP could run over low bandwidth networks. High speed connections are not usable by the IoT devices in the last mile. So in IoT, we are mostly dealing with the low data rates and all. So even the IP was previously working on the low data rates. The reason include the implementation of technologies with low bandwidth, limited distance, and bandwidth due to regulated transmit power and lack of or limited network service. So the reason includes the implementation of technologies with low bandwidth, limited distance, and bandwidth due to regulated transmit power and lack of or limited network services. A constrained network can have high latency and high potential for packet loss. Constrained networks have unique characteristics and requirements. In constant with in contrast with typical IP networks where highly stable and fast links are available, constrained networks are limited by low power, low bandwidth links, like can be wireless or wired. So basically, we route right now IP protocols will have the capabilities of sending high speed data, okay, and uh, all that. So big bandwidth, but when we are talking about the IoT nodes, constrained networks, constrained nodes, there is a limited low power and low bandwidth things we will be dealing with. So they operates between a few kbps and a few hundreds of kbps and may utilize a star mesh or combined network topologies ensuring proper operations. Due to the low bandwidth, a constrained network that overreacts can lead to a network collapse. So, due to the low bandwidth, a constrained network that overreacts can lead into the network collapse. So, in summary, what we can say that is constrained nodes and network pose major challenges for IoT connectivity in the last mile. This in turn have led various standards organizations to work on optimizing the protocols for IoT.